So again, like we were all bowed, the people who were going to heaven. And when we started to ascend, and the people who were left behind were being left behind. And I got up to his face, and it was so bright, I couldn't even look at him. It was beautiful. That light he emitted, I never felt so safe in my life. It was warm. It wrapped me up. I didn't have a care in the world. And then he cast me down into that car where I had a shotgun in my lap. And he showed me the face of the person I was spending a little bit too much time with. And I understood that dream right away. Put some distance between you and him, because he's not good for you. He's not even good for himself. You know? He's just showing you. I can't say he was wearing a mask. He was just showing me who he wants to be. You know, somebody spends like damn near their youth in prison. They learn a lot of things they didn't want to learn, you know? But sometimes you can't talk to these dudes out here, these young ones. They got to learn that lesson hard. And that's just what it be. But, you know, I think he put on the face of who he wanted to be, because, you know, he was very forward moving. For somebody out of prison, he was very forward moving. He had a great job. He moved up the ladder, you know. And that's who he wanted to be, you know. So I don't know how much he's changed, but I know he does very well for himself, for somebody who spent all that time in prison. And he's not the only story I have like that. I have another friend who went to prison, and he came out, and I don't know what happens when he came out, and at the time that I had met him, he was like moving up to be a director of a facility or something. You know what I'm saying? For like special needs kids. So I like stories like that, when someone gets out of prison and they just put blinders on. They don't go back to what they used to do. They just go out here and see what the options are, and they make the best of it, and it works. It works. Sometimes I don't know what a lot of these men be doing. The men's shelters are better than the women's shelters here. The men's shelter, the women's shelter I'm in, don't have any Wi-Fi at all. Not for the clients, not for the people who have to live there. The food is yuck. I mean, they might occasionally have 2 or 3 good things on the menu that you want to eat. Oh my gosh. I went to the men's shelter. I'm not going to say where. They got cooked meals. They get dessert. They get pre-packaged salads. They have Wi-Fi in certain areas. How come the women's shelters don't have that? Why? Why don't we have that? And the sad thing about the men in the men's shelters, you know, a lot of them want out. I see a lot of them want out, but a lot of them are so broken, you know, they done ran the street, you know, don't nobody want to be bothered with them, or they still got a lot of bullshit friends. They still got a lot of bad habits. Now the government's supposed to take care of them. Like, I went to an event at that shelter. It was a graduation of the training class before me. And honey, the men in that kitchen can cook. They're eating good at that shelter. Meanwhile, our food is delivered in some van with little description. I said, oh my gosh, I gotta get out of here. I have to get out of here. But I'm enjoying the night. It's calm out here. People just chilling over here. And I'm okay with it. I left Caesar upstairs to stand guard. Let me tell you something about that cat. When anybody start arguing or fighting, he don't give a bleep about what's going on with me. He is gone for cover, honey, and I don't blame him, because a lot goes on up there, but not how it used to be, like when I first arrived. But honey, he runs for cover. One night, me and him got stuck in the middle of an argument. My roommate to the left of me was arguing with the roommate to the right of me, which is the witch, the bruja, doing the brujeria. And me and him, we were stuck in the middle, and we looked at each other like, what do we do, Scooby? You know? It's like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So Mrs. Brujeria decided to call my other roommate a nigger. Oh, she tried it, yes. And she was like, shut up, N-word, just that N-word, 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 N-word. I said, oh no, honey, now I can't stay out of it. My ancestors were like, this ain't gonna fly for you. And I told her, I said, you sleep in a room with 7 black women. You don't have no right to that word. No one does. But anyway, so I said, no, I gotta raise hell now. And this happened on Saturday. In the Gospel of Luke, I read that Jesus cast out demons and devils on Saturdays. And he used to piss people off because they couldn't do it. I mean, this man is performing miracles before you and you still don't believe. But it wasn't that they didn't believe, it was because they were haters. And she hated me and she hated my cat. And honey, I raised hell in there this past Saturday. I said, she got to get the bleep out of here. And then she threatened me to fight and stuff. So I put on my sneakers and I was like, oh yeah, I'll meet you downstairs. Because she was in the middle of getting dressed when all of this was popping off. I said, I'll wait for you to get dressed. I would like to see you try. But she wasn't getting dressed fast enough, honey. So, of course, administration came upstairs and they tried to smooth it over. And I was like, she ain't gonna be calling me no nigga in here, nobody else either. She getting out of here today. And of course, they tried to smooth it down. And I hate to say this, but most of the black people that came upstairs, they were West Indian. I know they understand the word nigga, but you don't just pipe shit like this down. She's in a room with 7 other black women. She's being taken care of by black people. What? So they left. And I explained to them, how she is, She does have a mental health issue, but sometimes you still got to check them too, unfortunately. Let's see how much of a mental health issue you got, boo. And sometimes you'll find it ain't real at all. But anyway, Then I started raising hell again, and I had to let her know, honey. And I let her know, like, I said, you only wear a card around your neck, honey. You don't know him. I said, because you're selfish. You don't do anything for anybody other than yourself. And she paused. And plus, there were other issues with her, I didn't mean to make a villain of her, But no, that's not going to fly in here. And so when I started raising hell, and that's another part of the Gospel of Luke I want to discuss, because the more Luke that I read, and I finished too, the more Luke that I read, it made me think, like, when Jesus did lose his temper, like, I was reading the scripture and in my head was popping like flame of hell, He got really angry, and that's what I was, I was really angry because they wasn't getting her out of the room. And plus, once they saw I had my sneakers on, ready to, they was like, oh, we got to get her out of here because there ain't going to be no peace on this floor tonight. We got to get her out of here. And so they tried talking to her, and then she went into her thing, the mental issue thing that I am aware that she has. Oh, no. And you was trying to, like, harm my cat, too? God said 3 days. 3 days. And on the Sabbath, she was cast out, honey. You should have seen her face. She couldn't believe it because I told her on Tuesday, you getting out of here. You are getting out of here. Okay? Not like Jesus rising on the 3rd day, but 3 days went by, and on the 4th day, the Sabbath, she was cast out, honey, by my voice. You're not going to come in here and play in our face. No, we get enough of that in the street. You ain't going to come in here and play in our face. And so after they had enough of whatever she was saying, they said she had 15 minutes to pack. And, God tells me not to gloat when, favor is shown towards me. But I couldn't help myself this time. I went in the room and I said some shit to her in Spanish. And you should have seen how wide her eyes got. Because I grew up with some Spanish people. My Spanish used to be pretty damn good. And ooh, she was hot. She was threatening to do this to me. She was threatening to kill my family, all types of shit. I said, okay, see you in the cafeteria. And she was in the cafeteria staring at me from behind these like shades that you can't see her eyes. I know you looking at me, boo. You right at the next table. And I had you cast out. You got to go play with somebody else. If you want to hate black people, the shelter is not the place to do it, okay? And it's certainly not in the dorm I sleep in. I'm respected. You might hear that word all over the radio, honey. I don't care. Don't you ever address none of these black women in here as the N-word ever again. Not in my presence. And that's how Bruja got cast out on the Sabbath day by a kid of God. Have a good night.